Donna, and I am going to do a little video clip on how to read a school-age lesson plan. Now, this is not a training on how to actually write a lesson plan. If you are a site administrator or a lead school-age teacher, throughout the year, we do have in-person trainings where we will really go into great detail on how to write a lesson plan. The purpose of this training is just to make sure all of our teachers know how to read a lesson plan. A couple things about our school-age programs. With Great Miami Valley YMCA, we use Building the Primary Classroom. Every single one of our locations should have a copy of this book, and we do trainings on the curriculum throughout the year. But this is the curriculum we use, and our lesson plan is based off this curriculum. We also teach and assess our school-age children on 38 objectives. And so these are the 38 objectives. Each one of your programs should have a copy of this. If you haven't seen it, ask your site administrator for a copy or where its location is. If you haven't seen this, you might have seen this. We actually took all of these objectives and we put it on a little poster just so it's easier to find all those objectives. But ultimately, these are the 38 things that we are assessing children in our school-age program. Now, in each one of our programs, you should have an area that looks something like this. Some of our off-site locations, they will actually use a trifold board. They call it the assessment board, and you will find these things on the assessment board. So, but for the sake of this training, I just put it up on a wall. But what you should have is, one, you should have this Excel sheet. This is where the site administrator or lead teacher is actually scoring every single child in your classroom. Their name is listed, and all of those 38 objectives, we have actually assessed the children. Or maybe it's 36 objectives, 36. Then you should also have your lesson plan readily available. Your lesson plan really guides you and lets you know what you should be doing every day. Another thing that you should have is you should have a couple envelopes. One is going to have some blank anecdotals, and then you should have an envelope with completed anecdotals. This is what we're using in our school-age programs to write an anecdotal. So what is an anecdotal? It's basically an observation. It's whenever you observe a child doing something, you write it on one of these, and then you'll put it in a completed envelope. So now when you come to our lesson plan, this is a school-age lesson plan, and the very first line is really about your meeting time. In the preschool world, we call it circle time, but school-agers, they prefer to be in a meeting. So you should gather all of your children at least once a day, and you're gonna have a meeting. You might read a chapter book, you might sing a song, you might have a question of the day. Every program looks a little bit different. For my lesson plan, I actually used some of our pre-made, we kind of call them Mighty Minutes. We use them a lot in our infant and toddler programs, and so I created some for our school-age programs. Here are some examples, and what's really great about these is that they are already activities for you. You could actually do your whole lesson plan just based off these Mighty Minutes. We have a whole group of Mighty Minutes just based on social skills. So for my meeting throughout the week, every day I pull a different card and we have a group discussion. So oftentimes what I'll do is hole punch them. So these are all my Mighty Minutes for the week, and I'll have these readily available so every teacher can read it and know what we're doing. So on Monday, it says that I'm going to use a social card and we're going to have a discussion. So an example might be someone took a book from the book fair and they didn't pay. And so we'll just have a conversation with our school-agers about what would you do if somebody did that? So these are great discussion starters, and they really focus on social development. For the sake of my lesson plan, I use one of these social activities for every day. So it kind of creates our discussion of the day. This one says, Lola finds $5 on the playground. What should she do? So these are some great questions that you can use for your meeting time. Other things that you can do during meeting time is, of course, go through your rules. Make sure all the children know your rules, review your rules every day, and if your program gives jobs, you can actually give jobs during your meeting time. So that's what the first section of the lesson plan is for your meeting or your group time. The second part of the lesson plan says small group. This is where you are going to assess children. So as a teacher, you want to walk in every day. One of the very first things that you want to look at after you look at the sign in and out sheet and you know how many children you have, you want to look at, what am I supposed to do for the day? Your lesson plan will tell you. So here, for example, on Thursday, it says that we're going to do a game called Small or Different. It's a small group activity, and I need to assess, it actually has children's initials here. It says that I need to assess JL and RK. So I'm thinking that is Jeremy and Rodney. So I know on Thursday, Jeremy and Rodney need to be assessed. So I'm going to pull 2 blank anecdotals. It's Thursday, so it says the same or different game. So somewhere in my environment, that should be out. So let's see. Well, sure enough, here's an activity right here on the table. Same or different. So I would put this activity out so the children have access. Other children will want to come over and play it too, that's fine. But I really want to try and encourage Jeremy and Rodney to come over because I need to get that assessment of them. So I would start by probably sitting down and actually playing this game. And then, of course, when Jeremy comes over, I'm going to see how he does. And then on my anecdotal, I'm going to write his name, and I'm going to put down, could he tell which ones were different? Could he not tell which ones were different? Out of 10 times, he got 5 out of 10. Whatever your observation is, you're going to write that down. You're going to try and get an observation for both those children that are on the lesson plan that need to be observed today. Your assessments should only take maybe 2 to 5 minutes a day. Once you have your assessment done, you put it in the completed file, and your site administrator or lead teacher, they will make sure and log, score, and log, and it will help guide them on what to put on the lesson plan in the future. So that's how you assess. So this top part of our lesson plan is where we're really assessing. This is where we're getting our observations. The bottom part of the lesson plan, these are all your centers. At all times, even in our before and after school age programs, you should have an area for language arts, one for math, one for social studies, one for science. Of course, we do gross motor activity in the gym or outside, creative art, and dramatic play. So this lesson plan tells you what materials should be out in those centers. Now you can have other materials, but you have to have these materials. So if you're working at a before and after school site and you're like, I don't know what all to really focus on this week, it tells you. So in this particular math, it says, what time is it? So what we're doing is we're working on time with children. Well, let's come over here to our math area. I've got some of those mighty minutes. So we're going to work on time, and this is just a whole bunch of cards that you ask the child, what time does this one say? What time does this one say? So we have evidence that we're teaching time out at this table. Something else on our lesson plan, it says that we are doing a x-rays in the science area, and we do have an x-ray table, and we have x-rays. In our dramatic play, it says our focus is a cash register and money. And we have a cash register and money out in our dramatic play area. Now, of course, in our before and after school age sites, you don't have a classroom like this, but you still set those materials out. Can you have other materials as well? Yes, but you have to make sure that these materials are out per the lesson plan. Another one that we have on here is in our creative art area, using one of our mighty minutes, is invent an animal. So let's go over to our creative art area. Do we have other things out? Yeah. We've got Play-Doh out. We have some hole punch out. I might even put pencils and crowns out. But I do have those mighty minutes that say invent an animal. And so this one says invent an animal that looks half scary and half funny. So it just kind of prompts a child on what to make. And I just put this card right on my lesson plan. So I'm just going to have this sitting here in my art area, and then that way you can match up. Everything that's on my lesson plan matches up or corresponds with what's out in my centers. So hopefully that is a little helpful on how to actually read a lesson plan. If you read your lesson plan and you follow it, it lets you know what you should be focusing on, what you should be teaching, who you should be assessing, and what materials should be out in your centers. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you later. Bye.